Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
It is episode 95 of the Say Hey podcast, part of the Believe Podcast Network. I am Doug Hayes. It is January 31st, 2023. It's already February, man. How's it going, Rob?
God, don't tell me that. Don't tell me that. I'm already screwing up my New Year's resolutions. Dry January is over. No, I'm just kidding. There was no dry January. But yeah, already a month into this thing. Spring training creeping up, and another first time we've done back-to-back weeks now in a while. So that's how you kind of know we're kind of ramping up and getting ready for the season. But always good to be back on the Say Hey podcast and drinking on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm so tired, man, from just work and softball's ramping up. If you don't know, I'm a coach, so getting that going. Then obviously the more important things, I'm chasing my daughter around everywhere now, so she likes to walk and run everywhere. So, but yeah, man, episode 95, dude, it's crazy. We're coming up on 100. Like you said, spring training right around the corner. It really is, because I think we're 2 weeks away, basically, from pitchers and catchers reporting, and then approximately like 3.5 weeks away from our first spring training game. So yeah, baseball's coming up, man. Football is officially done for me now. The Niners didn't have a great end to the season on Sunday.
Talk about a perfect storm of bullshit in that game.
Worst case nightmare scenario. You lose your third string quarterback early in the game, but he's proven enough that he can go out and keep you in games, especially against good teams. And you lose him early, and then Josh Johnson just was not ready, and then he gets hurt, and then you got Christian McCaffrey playing quarterback. So it's gonna be an interesting offseason for that roster that needs to win now.
Yeah, it does. They got the squad there ready to win right now. But hey, you know what? Josh Johnson he's a Madden legend. Okay, if you've never had Josh Johnson on your Madden teams over the years, just to be your backup third stringer to play in the preseason, just have him run, like, you've been missing out, because I've been doing that with Josh Johnson since like 2010.
Well, he's been back for a long time, or he's been in the NFL for a long time. So crazy times. But yes, it is just about baseball season. Before we get into the big bulk of what we want to talk about tonight, it looks like the Giants are making a move, Rob. Not a huge move, but it is important to this roster, because we did just talk about, what are the Giants going to do behind Joey Bart? And this isn't, like set in stone, but Roberto Perez, there's no contract yet. So we don't know if it's a major league contract, if it's a minor league deal, or if it's a non-roster invite for Roberto Perez. Guy's known for his defense. 2 Gold Gloves back in 2019, and then in 2020 in the short year. He just turned 34 last month, but we'll see. We know that Austin Wynns is back in the organization, of course, but he's probably going to start the year with Sacramento. We don't know what they're doing with Ricardo Genovez. Right. Do you even know anything much about Roberto Perez? I know it says in 2019, in that like full year, he was the catcher for Cleveland. 119 games, did hit 24 home runs, 63 RBIs, hit 239, 321 OBP. I'm going to assume that, in looking at his numbers, Farhan's probably loves his walk rate. He's got a decent walk rate. So, offensively at least. But he is definitely a defensive guy.
Yeah, just his days with the Indians. He was there for like 6 years. I want to say 6, 7 years.
6, 7, yeah.
Yeah, before he went over to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But yeah, a couple Gold Gloves. We had kind of kicked around the idea of them bringing in like a Gary Sanchez type to be a glorified right-handed DH, backup catcher, quotes. But I do like this move a lot better than that, because Roberto Perez, I believe, actually it gives you value with a pitching staff that we don't know a lot about.
Sure.
Who's the experience back there, a good quality catcher, defense first. Yeah, if he walks and he hits 20 home runs somehow, or hell, 15, great. That's a bonus. He could be what Kirk Sally did a couple of years ago. But I like far on going with the defensive approach here rather than bringing in just some goon that hits right-handed behind Bart, because that's what Bart already does that. So,
yep, I agree. So yeah, we'll see what the Giants have in store for him. Yeah, so we kind of touched on it last week when we were grading our off season, and I thought it would be cool to dedicate an episode. Won't be super lengthy tonight, but talking Logan Webb, and I know it's kind of been thrown around. Is this off season that they're going to buy out his arbitration years, and are they going to give him an extension now? And generally, with these, buyout ARB years and give extensions, you're looking at 6, 7, sometimes 8 years. And I just thought that we can have a conversation about it. It would be kind of a weird time because like Logan Webb is 26. So if he's getting that 6, 7 year extension, that's going to take him to 32, 33. And it kind of really, for most players, takes away the opportunity to really go get a big payday when they're 29, 30. So that would be advantageous for the team, for the Giants in this situation, if they were to go that route. But I think a lot of people are like, well, why hasn't he gotten one yet? And I feel quite on the opposite end, like quite contrary about this. I'm not a huge fan of them offering an extension right now. And I guess we can go into why. I don't know. Would you be in favor of the Giants hitting up Logan Webb for an extension right now, this offseason?
It's funny. If you'd asked me before last season, I would have said yes. But now I'm kind of leaning on your side of the boat. Just the strikeout rate was down a little bit last year. It was, I believe, down to 7.6 last year per 9, and in 2021 it was 9.6. So it was around 2. The difference of 2, I believe it was. And we had talked about that. His velocity was down a bit last year. Most innings he's ever thrown, 192. And he's only thrown 2 full seasons now, 148 in 2021 and 192 last year. So yeah, just to kind of, he had a good year. Like he goes 15 and 9, 2.90 ERA. He had a good year. Nothing wrong. Him and Rodon, that they were a great 1-2 punch last year. Sure. But you could kind of, you could see the I don't even know how to say it, like, because it's kind of screwed up calling it a decline because he had such a good year, but you could kind of see him coming back to earth a little bit towards the end of last year in the dog days of August and September. So, and I would think at this point Webb would be probably more than open to getting an extension and talking and getting out of those RBers, because he has climbed the ladder here really quick, because people forget he got called up in 2020 in the COVID season, and he got slapped around. He started like 11 games that year. I mean, there was no pressure on the Giants that year. He was just kind of up there filling innings with Tyler Anderson and those guys and Gossman. But I think with his playoff performance against the Dodgers, that just put everybody on another level with him going into last year. And that's why it's funny to talk about now. It felt like he came back last year, but he still had a really nice year overall. But I would probably wait a little longer now to give him that extension to see if he, after two seasons of a full workload or close to it, I would like to see how he does in year 3 before I throw the bag at him, so to speak.
Yeah, speaking just in terms of on the field performance, again, just to repeat what you said, overall, he had a great year last year. Like, there's no doubt about that. And I just want to say before we keep going forward, like, Rob and I are Logan Webb fans. We like Logan Webb and would love to see him continue. I mean, guys from Rockland, he's here in NorCal, is a Giants guy, which, they love that stuff. But yeah, like you said, last year, 2021, 148 in the third innings, which was by far the most he's ever pitched. Then this year he throws 44 more innings, 192 in the third, like you mentioned. So a big jump, and made 32 starts. So he made, an entire year of starts. Didn't really have any injuries to miss time this last season. And like you said, great year, 2.90 ERA.
Yeah.
But yes, now we're looking at the Ks, and this is one of my reasons too. But that's why I don't want to write off an extension at all. I wanted to, it's not. I think it's just the timing, and I'm trying to think from the Giants' perspective. I'm trying to pull up something here real quick because I want to see how many more years of ARB he has available. So he's arbitration eligible through 2025. So 3 more years.
Oh, okay. I thought it was 26, but okay. Yeah.
2026, he would be, if nothing changes, he would be a free agent in 2026. So
Okay.
I think that's important to note. If he did get like a 6 or 7 year extension, that buys out the 3 years. He'd obviously be making more money. But that's why I think this upcoming year is so significantly important because they have those ARB years to rely on. And they already, I believe, agreed to, a deal for this year. So that's already over with for 2023. But it still gives him time to, hey, if I have another great year this year, then it's like, okay, well, we know that he's solid. We can move forward and let's sign him long term. And I would be okay with that. I just think that 2023, like, I want to see one more year from Logan Webb. But if you look at his 4 years, I know in 2019 he made 8 starts, and then he appeared in 13 games in the short 2020 year, but made 11 starts. But I think you can tell if a guy is a strikeout guy, even if he makes a handful of starts compared to a season worth full starts. So in 2019, 8.39 Ks per 9, 2020, 7.62, 2021, 9.59. It's like, hey, this guy's kind of ramped up his velocity. He's hitting some mid-90s consistently. Really worked on, that sinker. And then this last year, like you said, almost 2 full Ks less per 9, 7.63. So,
yes,
that's a significant drop. But also, I think the counter would be like, well, is Logan Webb a strikeout guy, and does he really need to be effective?
Right.
No, he doesn't necessarily, because he is a keep the ball down in the zone guy, induce a lot of ground balls. I mean, he has a 56.6 career, ground ball rate, which is really, really good.
Yes.
And he was right there last year, 60.9 in 2021, 56.7 this last year. So, and he doesn't give up home runs. Like, he doesn't give up home runs. So, you counter that with, I would counter back with, well, his velocity was down. I mean, almost a full mile an hour. In 2021, 93.3, 92.4. Again, could be, pitching way more than I ever have in my life. So maybe there's a little bit of wear there. I think that there's significant, I don't want to say concerns, but it's just like, I just want to see if the numbers stay in 2023 very similar to what they were in 2022, I'd still be like, let's invest in this guy. What do you think?
Yes, I agree. I mean, ground ball guys, guys like that, they're really, they're like magicians. They get out of jams. They can really put a lineup to sleep when that sinker's biting, like really frustrating stuff. Defenses generally like playing behind sinker ballers because they're ready, they're active. So we're not saying just because the strikeout rate went down, so it's the end of all things. But I think since it was only his second year of a full workload, it's just something to monitor going into this year before you give him the bag. Because yeah, he had starts last year where you could see that he did not have his stuff, but he battled and he would get you 5, he'd get you 6. And you got to remember too, like, obviously we don't have the numbers right in front of us, and nothing aside from the Crawford play in Detroit that led to a 4-run rally.
Yeah.
Late in the year when it was a tailor-made ground ball kind of to Crawford right by the bag, and he booted it and it went down as a hit.
Yep.
Like, that's one play that stands out in my mind, but the Giants didn't stop a lot of balls in general last year on defense. So that might have had something to do with it. Pitch counts get up, and dudes get tired. So yeah, we're not writing him off, just because his strikeout rate was down a little bit. But I think if you're going to go forward in the NL West, and the Giants have no outside of where you hope for Kyle Harrison, that's what you're hoping. But other than that, Logan Webb is the only young guy that you can kind of pencil in being here for the next few years. There's nobody else. So you got the Dodgers lineup, you got the Padres lineup, tough lineups you're going to face. You're going to need a guy like Webb that can eat innings, get ground balls, even when he doesn't have his best stuff. He's not striking guys out. So if they lock him up before spring training, or before spring training, during spring training, early in the season, kind of like they did Madison Bumgarner in 2012, and just get that out of the way, that'd be great. I don't expect it to happen, and I think they're just better off seeing what he can do with another year's workload before they, truly invest in him.
Well, you talk about, he's basically the one guy that we can count on being here for the next, at least, like we said, 3 years ish. But it kind of ties me into my final point, which is the ones making the decisions, the ones writing the checks, the ones, Farhan, the Greg Johnson, the Pete Patella, those guys that are going to reach out and make a decision and offer an extension if they do decide to do that. But look at what this front office does with pitching. They do not invest long-term in their rotation. And we've discussed it before, like, until things change and the rotation struggles with this philosophy of, hey, we're going to sign guys for a couple of years, turn them over, and then they'll go get paid somewhere else. For the most part, it's worked. Why would they change that strategy anytime soon, especially after the offseason that they just had, where they did spend some money, but they didn't, give anybody a huge deal.
They didn't invest in anybody.
Correct.
Really.
Well, especially in specifics, the rotation. So, right. They brought in Ross Stripling, they brought in Shamanaya. But yeah, it's not like they're out here giving like, hey, Carlos Rodon, we liked what you did for us in 2022. We are going to give you 6 years and match what the Yankees offered. Do you want to stay here? Mm-hmm. It's just like, I don't think the urgency for the Giants to do that with Logan Webb, because he's under team control for 3 more years, and they're hardly paying him anything. I may be wrong. I want to say maybe they're paying him like $4 million this year. It's 4.6. 4.6. Yeah. So that's the ARB number that they agreed upon, which is nothing for what he has given you so far.
Yeah, so it's more than fair.
Yeah,
for the Giants.
So here's the thing, velo is down, strikeouts are down, but overall numbers are still good. There's no need to rush into it now, because if he has a bad year, then you're kind of like, well, let's see if 2024 he bounces back and we're just going to pay him, a not so huge amount again. Or if he has a third consecutive year in a row, even with similar strikeout numbers, even similar velocity numbers, it's like, okay, this is Logan Webb. We know that we're going to, let's give him 6 years, and he can, ride it out, and we know what we're going to get with this guy. So I really think that from the front office's perspective, from their point of view, it's, let's get through one more year, and let's talk about this again in, December, and decide what we want to do with Logan Webb's future.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that comes down to Webb's camp, Webb himself. Because I'm sure they've had discussions, and because if we're talking about it, then they're talking about it at least a little bit, and it's on their minds, of course. You have teams like the Braves, like they extended Max Fried early. The Braves in general, they've been, famous last couple of years for extending all their young players. But the Giants, just in general, they haven't done that. And you talk about pitching, and they haven't 2 years opt out or one, basically everybody. So yeah, I definitely I see Farhan and these guys, assuming Farhan gets an extension, which we haven't. That's not hasn't happened yet.
To be
After
determined.
this year, yeah. So yeah, I don't see him, extending Webb early until he knows for sure and he has a good grasp on what he's going to get around 2025. If because like you said, if he puts up similar numbers to what he did last year, you want him on the team, and other
Yeah.
teams are going to want him.
Yeah.
So you just you got to determine, like, okay, if we can save a few bucks now as opposed to then yeah, let's do it. But with the differences between 21 and 22 on the velocity, it's not even the strikeouts. It's the velocity. It's just the velocity in general. You want to see how his arm holds up again. And yeah, and the far on these guys, like, you can't knock them for being dumb with their money yet. So I mean, we can argue about shit that they've done that we wish they wouldn't have done, or that they would have done, but they've been pretty smart with their money, economically, savvy. But yeah, there's no reason to extend him now until you have a better feel for what Logan Webb truly is, and how you think the rest of the league is going to see him in a few years.
Yeah, and then just kind of to wrap up, just speaking specifically about on the field stuff. I'm looking at his pitch usage too, and I think this could be important too. Notice this, 2021, 46.6% of the time he's going with his fastball, his sinker, and 27.7% of the time he's throwing his slider, which was a really big jump up from the year before, and then. He had a cutter, but he hardly ever used it, and he didn't use it last year in 2022. And then he had a changeup that he used 23.1% of the time, which was really going into that season was the big thing that he had worked on, and it was good that year. So now look at this. In 2022, from 46.6 to 36.3, that's over 10%. He used his fastball less, his sinker. He upped his slider usage from 27.7 to 32.7%. So he used his slider more. And then he jumped up his changeup from 23.1% to 31% in 2022. So 32.7, 31%. So, 63.7% of the time, he was relying on his slider and his changeup. And so about 36%, the other third, basically, he was using his sinker. So, it could be the way they're molding him and the way he's being used is, we don't need you to throw 95. Maybe sit at 92 to 93, 94 sometimes, and, really factor in the efficiency and the quality of your pretty good slider now and really good changeup. So maybe that's the way he pitches. Like I said, we'll see how his usage is in 2023 as well, but that's going to be a big tell. This is a huge year to determine the money moving forward for Logan Webb.
Yeah, and if that's all the Giants design, if they're the ones, tinkering with this stuff like that, then if that's truly the case, it's almost all the more reason to extend him earlier. Because I mean, if he's going through these changes and adjustments that you're pushing on him, they must have a pretty good feel for what he is or what he's going to be. And because obviously the dude, I mean, not to quote Kruko, but the dude's a gamer. Like I said, even when he doesn't have his best stuff, he battles. Sure. He gives you a chance to win. So if what you're saying is something that the Giants are doing directly, that's their idea, not his. That's not him just fucking with his shit. But if that's the Giants view on him, and they're getting him to use his slider more and all that, then I think extending him sooner rather than later is probably the move, if that's what they want, if that's where they're how they view him.
Yeah,
because there's just the barrel's kind of empty outside of Kyle Harrison coming up. So I mean, you're gonna want a young arm or two for the foreseeable future, because you can sign all the 1-year deals, 2 years with a player option, all you want, but you don't want a rotation consisting of just that. You need one or two guys to be stoppers, and if nothing else, through 2 years, Webb has proven that he's a stopper, and he will give you a chance to win every time he goes out, regardless of if his stuff is popping or not.
I just think ultimately, this is going to be a huge year. Big tell if he can do it for a third year in a row. Let's do it. I think if there is an extension for sure, it will be no later than next offseason. No later.
Agreed.
So this is just a huge year. Get through it healthy, and which for the most part, health hasn't really been a concern for him. Knock on wood. So I think it's a big year for Logan Webb. And it'll definitely be interesting to see whenever Kyle Harrison does come up to see how they work at the top of that rotation. Hopefully Harrison's as big as the hype that we're hearing and seeing coming up through the minors, and he gets off to a strong start in Sacramento. So
watch the Giants just trade Webb. You know what?
Those borderline optimistic, like super optimistic fans that are like, I love my Giants. I don't care about the offseason. What the fuck? You just traded Logan Webb. I'm not going to any games this year.
No, like watch come around like 1st of May. The Giants have a shitty April or something like that, and things are just going sideways. Yeah, I think we made a couple. We didn't. It's not working. We just want to cut ties, with the little value we have. So we're going to send Webb to, the Red Sox for a boatload of prospects.
Rob's hypotheticals.
Well, what? I mean, God, he's the only guy on the team we can really bank on being here in 3 years.
It's true.
As of now.
Taylor Rogers, man.
And Taylor Rogers, you want big extensions with your bullpen guys. So,
well, that was a fun short one. Just wanted to talk Logan Webb, and big year for him. Excited for it. So we are a couple weeks away from pitchers and catchers report in spring training. So definitely exciting time to get going, talking baseball again. So make sure you're subscribed to us on YouTube. You can find all our episodes wherever you get your podcasts or at Believe.com, BLEAV.com. Feel free to reach out to us on socials at Say Hey Doug, at Say Hey Rob, at Say Hey Podcast. So, and make sure you're joined up on Giants Chatter on Facebook and at Giants Chatter on Twitter. Rob, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, we're getting closer, and I think the biggest storyline going into this next season is going to be Logan Webb. So I'm very excited to watch his story unfold this year. I was really looking forward to doing this episode because, like I just said, if he's the only one on the team right now who looks like he could be part of the future aside from the next year or two. So big year for him. Very excited.
Develop the farm.
Please.
For Say Hey Doug and Say Hey Rob. Till next time. Go Giants.
Go Giants.
Say hey, say who, say Willie, say hey, say who, swinging at the plate, say hey, say who, say Willie.